when a corporation goes up, when it takes up a certain percentage of its revenue, a certain percentage of its profit and puts it into, social causes, what can be done gets fairly limited, and it will create a very discontinuous effort. Otherwise, it will become very small. Because if we say that we will put in 1% of our profit or 5% of our profit and then put it in, what happens when you do this in a year in which there is no profit? Then all efforts become projects. Projects are by nature discontinuous. But what it gains is the project management or program management capabilities, which will always be inherently very strong in a corporation. Okay. So the way we do is, we know that the subjects in which we can contribute are very many. So we encourage our employees to participate along with NGOs in many of the causes. And as normal, one of the causes for which we seek their cooperation is go and teach in a school. It's a question of how long your time is available, and accordingly we will work with NGOs and the departments which will find out the time at which employees can go and teach in a school. We have 62,000 employees. It's a very vast number. So the hours which can contribute is large. But what we had done, or what I had done, or my family has done, is different. We have two operating companies in HCL. HCL India and HCL Global. And HCL India is about 2.5 billion in size, and HCL Global is 2.8 billion in size. They have been declaring dividends since inception. HCL India was formed in 1976, and HCL Global, which is HCL Technologies, is formed in year 2000, listed in 2000. These dividends flow into a family corporation. The family corporation bequeaths a large quantum of it into Shiv Nadar Foundation. So we have found a very sustainable way of doing this. What happens with this, we can take a long effort, something which will take 10 years, something that will have to be supported for 25 years, big project. End of the day, what have I achieved? What have we achieved? We have achieved we built 2 institutions, and we know how to run it with processes. We know how to run it with structures. So if you want to create institutions which will, which are built to last, we know how to build these to last. So we would do them, and we will do them as institutions, not as projects. I hope you follow the difference.
Let me just follow up on that and ask about the target of your efforts. It could be health, it could be the arts, it could be community services, but you have chosen to focus on education. If you would just say a few words about that choice. Why education?
The why education came with not much of reasoning, because when we wanted to give something back, I looked at myself as, what am I? I'm a product of education. Education and scholarship, it gave me a lot of confidence, and aspirations I picked up from friends and the ambience in which I grew. And if I could provide a similar ambience, it could help a lot more people. That's how we set up a College of Engineering under a university and under a university. But right when we set it up itself, we set it up that this is going to grow big. This is going to last. This is going to do many things than just engineering. So we bought 230-acre campus next to Chennai, and now it has become part of Chennai itself. And now in 14 years, and we did the processes right. We built the institution right. In its 9th year, it's topped the state. There are 400 engineering colleges in the state. And somewhere around, it's 14 years old. Somewhere around the 10th year, it ranked in the top 10 private colleges in the entire India. And then we began a good 9 years ago, a joint program. We said, let's start a joint program for masters. And let's do it with the best school in the world in these fields. So we've done that with Carnegie Mellon. We offer 4 postgraduate courses, and which is partly done. This I believe is a very important thing. In a global world, we believe you should study in multiple countries. Okay. Now, I'll step back and give you the reasons. China has become India's largest trading partner. It's rare to find an Indian who speaks Chinese. It's rare to find a Chinese who can speak any of the Indian languages. Neither of them at the trading level, I want to repeat this, at the trading level, can speak English either. Okay. Small businessmen. Okay. How do they communicate? God knows. Sign language probably. But is there they are the largest trading partner. When the largest trading partner, they displace the United States. We all speak English, but no one speaks Chinese. And they come up, if you've ever traded with them, they come up with a calculator and then tell you this is the price, and that's all. You always go back with the price that you want. The way they cost their material probably is very different by weight or something. So now this has to be recognized. It just finds its way into the education system. It'll be good for us to, arrange exchange programs so that if there is a 2-year course, someone goes there, spends 3 months and comes back, and then over this entire period learns Chinese to speak, to read or write. Like you have a problem in America that everyone speaks only English or Spanish. In India, everyone speaks their mother tongue or English. So it got our line through US and England and Australia. But the economy number 2, 3, 4, 5, if you take them, it'll be China, Japan, Germany, India. They have to speak a different language now. Okay. Anyway, we thought that this joint program, we should pick up the experience. These programs are done 2 semesters in India and 1 semester in the US. Okay. And the students are solid. Most of them work for American companies. They go through the CME placement system, and they draw a higher salary than what the native CME course could get. So this is the second step that we did. And the third step which we did was that we are a product of technology. We are a product of R&D. Our company began its effort in producing computing before Microsoft or IBM did in the personal computing area. We were one of the earliest in the 70s. We are a company in the 70s who produced all these things, whereas these things came around in the world in the 80s. Okay. We are also one of the earliest in Unix, earliest in technology. So we know that the way it stages itself is technology comes first. Research comes first. As a result of it, technology comes. As a result of it, engineering comes. So if you build an engineering college, how do you connect it up with what happens before? So we started working on that. We built a research center, and we got somebody who came from defense research. We've got great advisors who are, supporting this. So the kind of people who support is people like Raj Reddy, people like Arunachalam, the people who have been advising the Prime Ministers of India. So we have, in education, covering a span and depth. In addition to that, we run a business school. So we thought that we would do this as something which is inspiring, and we would do it the way it would be. We thought, our belief is that it is aspirations, meritocracy, and a world-class institution. If you have the three ingredients, is what our country needs.
How serious do you see the educational situation in India, and what is your strategy to try and tackle that problem?
Mughal education in India requires correction in some places, new introductions in some places, and then widening in some places. Widening is Indian education is not global. Global doesn't mean somebody, comes here, even if when my daughter came here to study, the first thing I insisted was that you live abroad for a year alone and work in a company just by yourself. So she went and worked in this business, communication business, and with Sky News, completely anonymous, without knowing. No one knew what she was. She got a job because she got a degree in communication. But it's great experience. One must, just have some alien experiences like this. And studying in one location somehow doesn't appeal to me. Not for the future. Second thing is, I come from a generation in which the average life expectancy is in the 80s. They all are going to be in a generation in which the life expectation should be 100 plus. Okay. If it is so, they have more time to strengthen their, educational input now or as they go along. It can be a discontinuous effort also. So we thought that we will provide all these things and build a university. That is another project that we are doing. And we are not doing in the traditional style of, we will take land and then get to start with some courses and then build it up, not like we did last time. This time we are just going ahead and constructing it, and we said that a full-fledged university is what will be built. We will get to work with partners across the world and then take it from there, offer a completely different education experience. If someone asks that, what is this going to look like? Says, we don't know. It's a leap of good faith. These are two things that we're doing in higher learning. That's more than what you asked for.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Just to stay on this area, you've built a university, and yet I know you're also very interested in students of a younger age at a different stage. In thinking about where you have intervened in the educational course that people follow, if you could just work through a bit your thinking. Why intervene at the university level? Why intervene at a younger level? And then a related question is, how do you think about scale or scaling? So you want to intervene, but I also know you want to intervene and have a large impact on a lot of people. So really a second question is, just talk a bit about your thinking about scale, large-scale impact.
Large-scale impact is there are two things that we noticed as serious gaps. One, let me talk about my home state. My home state is not where I come from, that is Tamil Nadu. Home state is where I built the industry. This is UP. We are the largest private employer there, which is where we built all our businesses. They employ 20,000 people who all are in UP. It's a state which is adjacent to New Delhi. And it is, if the state were to be a country with a population of 190 million, it will be the 7th most populous state in the world. But it has very depressing failures. The school system with 180,000 schools is not able to cope with what the needs are. And political compulsions have made them that a student will just get through class after class after class without measuring what he or she has learnt. So that goes through till 6th standard. So if you take a 5th standard student, 45% of them don't know how to read. And if you take 2nd standard students, a similar percentage of students cannot recognize letters. So we have a serious problem. Okay. How do we correct it? If we knew that how to correct it, there wouldn't have been, they would have followed it. The state government is very sincere. I'm not taking them to be their failure. Someone needs to experiment and find an answer. So we've run some pilot models of delivering education through a non-qualified teacher. Deliver it through this medium on a telecast mode, okay, where someone only is assisting, standing next. It's almost like cooking through a television instruction. Okay, so somebody is demonstrating it for that next, and the courseware is such that it is in Hindi. We created it ourselves, and we tested it, we piloted this. After every conclusion of every hour or so, we reinforce, because the stages are you communicate, reinforce, then find gaps, close gaps. The huge advantage which a city-bred person has is the mother becomes a teacher. No one can replace a mother's teaching, no teacher can, because she will ensure that the child learns and retains what she has taught, if she can teach. That's why the urban students get to be much more competitive, who take away the bulk of what earning potential that there is. That's another political problem which India has. Okay, anyway, I'm not wanting to solve that problem. I thought that let me solve the problem at the teaching level. So how do you see what the teacher, the mother has to do? So towards the end of the day, each day, we are bringing in a control and command system through satellite, so that the most proficient of the teachers take all the students who have got gaps, and then they're connected through satellite, and they teach and correct, so that our objective is to get 90% of what is being taught to be retained by 90% of students. Okay. So that just eliminate the possibility. The advantage of the system is if someone has a 2-month handicap, he or she can join a class. This mental conception of 1 year, 1 standard, you just take it away. Think without those limitations. You have so much to study. So it has to be paced to what you have. And in between, if you have to go away for something else, it'll wait, It can't come back and say that I missed it, because the education career is one life, and then you've got to stay with it for the rest of the life. These are people who may drop out after 5th standard or drop out after school. This is the only opportunity they have to have any foundation. So we did this. The government knows that we are fairly sincere people. We have a good reputation. We say that, we will do what we say we will do. And if we don't commit anything, we'll say at least we'll experiment with all sincerity. So we asked the government, out of 180,000 schools, give us the management of 200 schools. But just agree to be patient with us, and we will correct this. And, we are yet to do this, but we are starting now. What will it do? They came up and said, take at least 1,000 schools. 200 schools, you're talking about 60,000 students. It's a very serious responsibility. I said, look, it's an act of faith, which what you're giving. It's a leap of faith, and the least we will do is we'll follow the old method, but deliver good education to these people. Okay? These 60,000 people will take charge. This is next year. We'll write in the letter of intent that we'll go up to 1,000 schools. But post that, we will program manage this introduction over the state to the 180,000 schools. Okay? This is the largest that has ever been done. Okay? But we'll program manage this. Okay? We'll work side by side with you. Okay? It's a very well-intentioned thing, and the team which is doing is highly capable. It's the project is headed, by a person no less than T.S.R. Subramaniam, who was Chief Secretary of UP before and was Cabinet Secretary before. So the team is very highly powered, very capable individuals. We said we'll take in. I'm very involved personally on this project, and the other project is called Vidyagyan. This is called Shiksha. The Vidyagyan project is, the urban-rural divide is very sharp. I gave you the statistics to you of UP government. UP. This is, if we just leave this, there was a speech by President Clinton. Were you there?
Yes.
2001, 2002, 2003. There are 3 consecutive years, India registers 9% growth. And 2004, there is an election and the ruling party is defeated. And it's not come back. The problem is of the 300 million poor people who go on vote, never saw the benefit of that 9% growth. In the subsequent 5 years, they called it all-inclusive growth and did partly and promised mostly that they would get them the benefits, and they started seeing them. The ruling party came with higher majority. It's because currently all benefits are going to the urban people. So how do we take it to the rural people? How do we bring them to be equals? We need to bring leadership at the rural level, because talent at the end of the day is randomly distributed. It doesn't look at caste, it doesn't look at creed, it doesn't look at religion, it doesn't look at where you're studying and where you're living.
How can you develop leadership at the high school level among students?
That's the level in which you develop them. Because, after that, it may be late. You develop it in every stage. They get very aspirational. Aspiration comes in, when you work with, all of them are almost similarly qualified. If you go to 2,000 schools and take school toppers and select 200 students, they're all very similarly qualified when they come in. So you compete, 1, and then you correct yourself, 2. In some field or other, we make sure that they lead. Finally, if a play is held like Ramayana, there are 56 out of the 200 students that will participate. We'll make sure in sports or they compete every week on something or other. So, competition raises leadership, and there are many team events in which they participate. So, if you come there and say, it's a very busy life. Those kids lead a very busy life. They get up at 5 in the morning, they get to work at 5:45, and they get to sleep at 9 or 9:30. They don't have a minute free. So, where will it go? These are all, to us, to me, these are projects which will take a long time, I hope I live long enough to see the results, because they have to go through school, then they have to go through college, then they have to go through work life. Will they go into an IIT or IIM I guarantee you. Okay. Unquestionably, they'll be able to pick up where they want to go, anywhere in the world. I would want them to go back to IAS or more political life, run for office. We would prepare them for it, In a lot of ways, when I was very young, they said every Kennedy was prepared to be president of the United States. They pretty much did.
So as a business entrepreneur for many years, you developed a capacity to think strategically and to build an organization, set a direction. As you've come in now to serving as a social entrepreneur, what are the skills that have carried over that have served you in doing what you're doing now from your years at HCL?
The first thing is, number one, whatever we are aspiring to do, it has to be big to keep my interest in it alive. Okay. Any one of the initiatives we are doing, they were all bigger than what we thought we could do at any time when we started. The first thing that we always do is we work out a plan. And the plan has always been a 10-year plan. And we work out financial allocations, which will be a 10-year allocation. We work out an organization structure of how to create it. We said first, we need a board that will guide it. We'll construct the board. You go to the university, the person who had served as the head of the IAS Academy, he will be, he is on our board. Someone who's managing India's most vital ministry, petroleum ministry, he's on our board. We got some. For the school, we have the one who was principal of Miranda, vice chancellor of Delhi University. She's on the board. Someone who created Sanskrit school, which is thought to be one of the best schools. She's on the board. We first create a board. If we're talking about the engineering college, we have Dr. Natarajan on the board, and we have Dr. Arunachalam on the board. People eminent, scientific capability. In order that everything is, but the other side, we have got to worry about accounts and audit as well. We have the previous election commissioner, Krishnamurthy, he's on the board of SSM. First is you create a board that will help and then build the institution. And then build an organization structure below. Who has, how do you translate a 10-year goal to a 5-year goal? And they have to have the aspiration. These things cannot be served by people to whom that is just not the job. Our education institution people turnover is pretty close to zero because they like what they do. They're compensated well. And we introduce metrics for everything because it must be measured. And we know exactly 92.8% is what the toppers, 98% was the toppers gets. Last top 25% in this school for leadership, they got above 90%. And how do they get there? This is checked out week by week. So it runs with an institutional discipline. I learned it from somebody. I learned how Gates Foundation works. It works like a business organization, accepting its businesses to meet some other objective, which are not business objectives.
I could ask one last question. How will you measure your success
In
the field of social impact and education?
social impact, well, something like an engineering institution is measurable. There are many measures to do that. Something like a brand new idea of a university which will function in collaboration with universities in multiple countries. Has never been done before. So it has to be adapted, and it cannot be my goal. We always create an institution, an organization structure. It has to be their goal, and we have to keep correcting. As in the being first and doing anything else, there is nothing to go by. So the only thing to go by is you keep collecting feedback to see is this correct, and keep checking with the outcome. Outcome is who? Have an advisory board of people who not only govern inputs but also will be final consumers, meaning it could be business, it could be government, where we want these people to go to, research.
Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.